This is an SABC News presentation.
Good morning and welcome to our midweek edition of A View from the House. I'm Kokeli Tanda. We've got an interesting show today. We talk to the Minister of Public Works about progress with his turnaround strategy for the troubled department he inherited. We joined the National Assembly as it congratulates South Africa's Olympic team. There was a festive mood at Parliament yesterday when the team arrived at the entrance to the National Assembly, displaying their gold, silver and bronze medals with pride. During a joint session, members from both the NA and the NCOP called on government and the private sector to make more money available for sport development. That story a little later in our program this morning. Also coming up is a special debate in the NCOP to celebrate its 15 years of existence. Let's go to our first item. The Department of Public Works is still battling to rid itself of deep-rooted fraud and corruption. At a briefing in Parliament earlier last week, the Minister of Public Works, Thulas Nxesi, revealed his turnaround strategy to deal with syndicates of corrupt officials who are stealing billions of taxpayers' money through tender fraud and corruption. Mr. Nxesi said corruption through invalid lease agreements and bribery to secure contracts was endemic in the department. For the 2011-2012 financial year, the Department of Public Works has reported 79 cases. In 46 of these cases, disciplinary action was recommended, 6 criminal cases and 5 civil proceedings. The portfolio committee is also frustrated by inefficiencies in the department. Yesterday, it cut short a meeting with top officials from Public Works after they had failed to provide the committee with information they required. The chairperson sent them packing after only 30 minutes, saying the delegation should go and do their thumb-sucking somewhere else. To tell us more about the state of affairs at Public Works and what the department is doing to turn around the situation, we are now joined by Minister Thulas Nxesi. Good morning, Minister, and welcome to our program.
Good morning.
Minister, in November last year, you admitted that your department is in complete disarray. It's dysfunctional. Is that still the case?
Indeed, when I came to the department, I indicated that based on the reports from the SIU, from the Public Protector and the Auditor General, Public Works was facing a number of challenges. And the first thing which I had to do was to say, to deal with that particular problem, I needed to do a detailed diagnostic. And I did that with the help from the Treasury Technical Assistant Unit. And I was able to say, I need a turnaround strategy, which is in terms of the stages.
We'll talk about that turnaround strategy just a little bit later. Just how widespread is fraud and corruption? What amount of taxpayers' money is getting lost?
The fact that the President came with a proclamation to look into the issues of the investigation by the SIU in 2010 was an indication that there are problems in that particular department in relation to corruption. And the quiet and relentless work which has been done by the SIU has given us evidence that there are very strong cases where we need to charge the people, where we need to even prosecute and have civil suits against particular individuals. What is very clear that it is widespread. It is very difficult to quantify it financially at this stage, but we're dealing with it case by case, and even the SIU is releasing those reports case by case. So it's a long-drawn process.
It takes two to tango. Is the private sector in any way involved?
What those investigations are indicating are that people are screaming about corruption in the public service. Yes, indeed, there are corrupt individuals, but they are working with syndicates in the private sector. So when we deal with corruption, we must attack it both at the level of the private sector and even in the public service.
Any arrests so far, and are disciplinary processes bearing any fruit?
Thus far, from the side of Public Works, we've gone into the disciplinary processes. 9 officials have been charged. They've appeared into the disciplinary hearings. About 2 or 3 of them have been concluded. We're waiting for the reports of the chairpersons. The others, the processes have begun. But there's also a very important one of the DG. You would remember that a DG, Mr. Dongwana, was suspended pending the charges. I must report publicly that after looking at the reports, we've been advised and also making our own mind that the reasons for the suspensions of Mr. Dongwana are frivolous. This is the view which we got from the SIU and even the Auditor General. And then we've had to apologize, and we are talking to Mr. Dongwana about a settlement because he's not associated with any of the whatever the purported reasons for his suspensions.
Minister, when you listen to what is happening at Public Works, one gets the impression that we're talking about a dysfunctional department here. How do you respond to what happened yesterday in the Portfolio Committee when the chairperson, Catherine Mabuza, once again sent a delegation from your department packing for failing to give them the information that they required?
No, it's the department. It's not totally dysfunctional. There are areas which are doing very well. The EPWP is doing very well. A number of areas are doing well. But indeed, there are areas which are a big challenge, which had been identified. The issue of the asset register, the issue of the finances, and the issue of the leases. But what we have done, we have started a process. I can announce on the asset register that we have met the first milestone. In May this year, we have announced we have been able to reconcile our records, all the properties, together with the deeds office. That is a very big milestone. Now, we're going to begin a process of the verification.
With regard to yesterday's incident, has the committee chair consulted and spoken to you about that incident?
I know that the committee chair was looking for me. I've not been able to speak to her. I'll be able to speak to her maybe today. But I can promise that in terms of the process, we assist with that particular process. The asset register process is on course. As I've indicated, we've met the first milestone. I am not sure why the officials would not be able to give that particular information.
Are you likely to take action for their behavior?
I do not want to say that I can't take action on the basis of what is you reporting to me. I must first get the details and know exactly what has happened.
You've got a turnaround strategy for the department. What does it entail?
The turnaround strategy entails a lot of things. First, after the diagnosis, I've been able to say, we need to say, that turnaround, the cure needs to come from inside. We must be able to say, in terms of that turnaround, we're talking about what is a shared vision of the department. What capacity are we going to insource from outside in these critical 3 areas which I've talked about. And also we must be able to say what political support which we need to get, especially from the departments who have gone through the same route, like the Department of Home Affairs and Rural Development. And we believe that if we can insource the right technical skills in the areas of finance, in the areas of the leases, in the areas of the asset register, we would be able to deal with that. But the responsibility for the for the turnaround lies in the department. We have to work with all those employees, retrain, train some of them, and recruit the right skills.
Minister, you might want us to believe that you are in control of that situation, but what's your response to some opposition parties which are saying that the department is failing the nation and should be disbanded?
Well, that's part of the role of the opposition. When they have to score points. Last week when I presented, for instance, on the issues of the leases, all of them have commended that they can see that we are doing some proper work. Yes, on the other areas, they are going to be impatient, like the public is impatient. But we have to make sure that we put a proper process. Even if it's slow, we must be sure of our steps. A turnaround is not going to be an event. It is a process which can take us 3 to 5 years. But stabilization within the next 2 years would have done it.
Ketamabala Sitole of the IFP argued that Public Works has failed to clearly detail its assets in the country and abroad and has no policy regulating it. Is that indeed the case? What's your response?
No. Partly it's true. It's an indictment on the Public Works that at this stage, after so many years, we do not have an asset register. That is why it has become our priority area. That is why today We have the records. We are starting the physical verification of all those assets all over the country. But to do that, we have to insource, we have to use a lot of the skilled people in the form of the audit firms who must go physically into the regions and do that process together with our officials in the department.
Finally and briefly, Minister, with all the challenges faced by the department, do you have leadership capacity for the extended public works programs which are supposed to be creating jobs for the poorest of the poor?
This is a program which has performed very well. We have even gone beyond our targets in terms of the job opportunities which we have created. It's just that I cannot share the figures here. But I need to mention this thing, Mkokeli. One of the key issues around on the turnaround strategy is the question of the stability of leadership. Leadership is very key in the stability of any department. Part of our challenge, how do we stabilize the department which has, let me say this, 26 senior managers acting, 36 vacant posts at the senior level. That's part of this turnaround. That's part of the challenge which we're facing, and we are seized with those issues.
Minister, we wish you good luck, and thank you very much for coming through. We appreciate your time.
Sir.
After the break, we joined a joint sitting of Parliament as it congratulates Team South Africa on its achievements in the London Summer Olympic Games. Stay with us.